everybody, welcome to the Fandom Post Radio Podcast. I am your host for this week, Kate, and joining me today is Kestrel.
Hello.
And Kane.
Hello.
And DJ.
Hello.
And I'm back from my unfortunate exile from my computer because my computer died because I killed it.
Yeah, what took you so long to get one?
I had to order a new computer. And it had to ship here from
special?
China.
Oh.
I use almost Macs exclusively unless I'm at work. So I had to buy a new Mac, and I had to get it shipped from Apple with the specs I wanted. So they put it together in apparently Shanghai and shipped to me from Shanghai. So I think it was on a boat for a week or two. So
nice.
But
well,
it's
congrats
here,
on the
and
new
it
computer.
works. Yes. I didn't want to buy a new computer yet, but my hard drive died, the other one, so it was time. Regardless, I see everybody that was in the snowstorm survived the snowstorm.
Yeah, I got pretty lucky. I kept hearing horror stories about it all day yesterday, like specifically around me, but then by the time I had to drive, it was fine.
What's snow?
Yeah.
This yeah, I kind of was like, what's snow with this storm, too, because we didn't get anything but rain down here, which was weird because, like, a half a mile in, Chris was buried in his house, and he's like an hour and a half away inland from me. So, yeah.
Yeah, that is surprising.
Yeah, we
DJ,
got hit
you
pretty
like the
hard,
cold,
too.
Right?
Say that again, Kestrel?
You like the cold, right?
Oh, I love the cold.
You want to switch?
Yeah, sure. I'm all for it. I want to take all 500 DoorDash restaurants that will deliver to me, though.
Ooh,
yeah, you can't have that.
Oh, man.
If you move out to where I live, you can have 2.
That's 3 more than I have.
That's a choice.
Yeah, I actually looked up the number of restaurants that delivered to my house 2 days ago, and it's like 546.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's an absurd amount.
Damn, that's awesome.
I think 546 restaurants in this area have gone out of business since the virus.
They don't even have that many.
They certainly don't here.
How many unique restaurants though?
Most of them. It's like
so it's not like you have like
chains
200
here,
Arby's and things.
No, it's like I think the most is like there's like 4 versions of this one breakfast place called Southern Made Donut, but like 3 of them are really bad and 1 of them is really good. So we order from like the bad ones sometimes. Weird. Like,
do you have a choice?
2 of them are Southern Made Donut, and then 2 of them are Southern Made Donuts, and they all have a different food item as their like menu picture. So it's just like we have to order from the one that has a taco as the picture.
Even though it's donuts?
Yeah, even though it's donuts. But like their donuts aren't that good. The tacos are what's good. So I'm glad they use the taco picture. It's a good example of donuts in Texas aren't good. I guess
especially if they're
like
selling them at the same place that sells tacos. That's like something wrong there.
Breakfast tacos are like the breakfast in Texas. Like I'm used to like diner food from living in Jersey and like fucking pancakes and French toast and all the cool stuff. They don't
that's
really
what goes
have
on here.
that here. Like they have IHOP and they have Denny's, but like there are no diners. And so there are only 2 places to get pancakes, and both of them are either IHOP or Denny's. So not a fan.
Yeah, I can't eat pancakes or waffles or French toast anywhere that doesn't have real maple syrup. So that limits me a lot.
Ian, I've never had a real maple syrup, so I am
gotta come
completely
over.
disillusioned. Yeah, I'm all about it.
Like, conceptually, when you think, oh, there's probably not that big of a difference, and then you actually eat it, you're like, oh, shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how bananas and banana candy are not remotely in the same area code. It's like
I feel like that's the same for anything watermelon, too.
Right, exactly. Any artificial flavor like that.
Oh, I tried that watermelon Mountain Dew.
Oh, my boss had that
Sounds
today
gross.
and said it was good.
It's fine. It's not as strong as, like, some of the other Mountain Dew flavors. It's lighter, but, like, and then it's fine, and then there's, like, no aftertaste, but then if you wait around 5 minutes, there's an aftertaste. It's weird.
Ugh.
Not like an aftertaste, but it's like the watermelon kind of goes away and then it comes back. It's very weird.
Yeah, that doesn't make it sound any better.
I don't know. I still prefer a lot of other flavors of Mountain Dew First over that, so decided it was not worth my time seeking it out anymore. Um, yeah, anime. Let's talk about anime. I guess we should do some news. It's been a while. It's been a hot minute since we recorded, so
Yeah, despite that, I don't really have any news. The one perennial thing that we do, which this will probably be the last one of, is checking up on that Demon Slayer movie. And it has now reached all the milestones that I expected to reach. As we discussed previously, it is the highest grossing film in Japan of all time. Also, the most actual tickets sold in Japan of all time. And it has now become the highest grossing anime film worldwide of all time, which also makes it the highest grossing Japanese film of all time worldwide. It's probably never gonna hit number one on the number of tickets sold in that regard, because it's got a real steep climb for that. But still, all the things that people actually care about, it has hit number one. And of course, it is the number one highest grossing animated film of 2020, the fourth highest grossing film of 2020 after two Chinese movies and Bad Boys for Life. It is the...
I'm so glad that is so high up.
so
it is
funny.
the seventh highest grossing traditionally animated film of all time. The only things above it are 4 Disney Renaissance films, Snow White and The Simpsons movie. And it is the 15th highest grossing non-English film worldwide of all time.
Good lord.
Yep.
Yeah, that's impressive. I don't understand it, but that's impressive.
Yeah, I don't really understand it either. I mean,
Like I didn't watch the show, but I know it was really, really good, but I didn't think it was like movie warranting number ones on all the important lists. Like it would attract that kind of market share. So it's baffling. It's impressive. It's just baffling.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It's not the best thing ever, but it certainly became the most popular thing ever.
Apparently, it is the best thing ever.
Yeah, well, I don't know if that quite lines up. If you look at highest grossing films across the board, not always the best. But print runs, too, of the manga, it's like accounts for a pretty big chunk of Japanese publishing in general. Like, it bumped up Japanese publishing like print runs in general, just across the board, just that one series in the past year. So that anime made that just the biggest thing ever. It was like the first one, I think Skylar mentioned this last time, the first manga in 10 years to sell more than One Piece.
I want to do some research sometime on how like the compensation structure works for mangaka. Like, man, I hope there'd be some type of like subsidies or royalties or something, so you don't have a guy writing like the next, One Piece or whatever, Demon Slayer, and it's just like, well, here's a $5,000 advance, or I guess the yen equivalent would be 500,000. No, 50,000. 50,000 yen advance, and have fun, and then that's it.
It'd be 500,000.
What? Okay, I did the math right the first time.
I'm pretty
Should have stuck with my guns.
I'm pretty sure, based on everything I know about how like control of a property works, that they have way more control over what happens to their stuff in Japan than any author or anybody here would have.
I mean, that is 100% true. As far as what cut of all the profits they make, I'm not quite as sure, but yeah, based on that, they are the all-powerful authority much more than in most places. So I would hope that they get a huge chunk of it. And it was surprising that, Demon Slayer became the biggest thing in the world, and then it ended. Like, the manga ended right when it was just starting to become the most popular thing ever. I don't know.
That's good to hear
about.
that they have a little more power, because over here would be you'd get your advance from your publishing company, and then, man, you better hope you signed a nice deal about it.
Right. At the very least, they can make absolutely any decision regarding what happens with their property.
Which is probably why that series ended when the author wanted it to end.
Well, okay, let's not go that far. They can make any decision in terms of like adaptations or anything like that. As far as the editorial system pressuring them to keep the series going for years past its natural end, not so much. There's a lot of pressure there. See Dragon Ball and many others.
Yes, that's true, but
Bleach.
Bleach. Yeah, I don't know if
God.
Bleach was
I don't
the
think
editors
so.
or Kubo, because he eventually kind of got
They-
canceled.
yeah,
Like,
they kinda
not
showed him-
officially, but
yeah, they showed him the door, kind of like
yeah,
basically somebody standing off stage doing the wrap it up symbol.
right, exactly. Because like he was dragging out that final arc so slowly, and then all of a sudden it was like, and we're wrapping it up in 2 weeks.
And we're done.
Yep, much. So yeah, I mean, it's good that it had a natural ending. I didn't read any of the manga, so I'm not sure if it was rushed at all. But yeah, it's good to see that it's, had these incredible adaptations and people are just fucking eating it up left and right, because it is quite a good adaptation. So yeah, that's all I got really in terms
That's
of
it.
news, I guess.
Oh, well, I guess that means we actually get to talk about the subject of the episode, like, in a reasonable time after it starts.
I was just expecting us to talk about like maple syrup and snow all day.
Is
Well, I
this
mean,
not
if you
the
want to,
maple
we
syrup and
can.
Snow episode. That's what I signed up for. I'm only prepared to discuss maple syrup today.
I mean, I am the leading expert in our groups.
That's very true.
No argument here.
But yeah, we got, 40-something shows to talk about this
Oh
season.
god, yeah. Okay, let's get started on that. Who wants to take lead here?
Well,
Well-
obviously, we're going to let Kane decide. Because that's
Yeah.
just how this process goes.
This is how it always goes.
Do you guys who didn't watch 20 shows want to just list off what you guys watched? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, do that.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll just list it off. I'm gonna go first because
Go.
duh.
Go first.
So I watched, currently watching, Eurocamp Season 2, Non Biori Nonstop, Cells at Work Season 2. I started watching Black, but I was like, no, I hate this. So I didn't continue with that. And then, what did I say? Non Biori Season 2, Eurocamp Season 2. Oh, and then Skate the Infinity. Because it's pretty fucking cool. So 4 shows. Started with 5, dropped 1, so now I'm with 4.
Not bad.
It's 1 more than usual, which is a 25% uptick.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
Like Kestrel and me watching like 4 or 5 extra shows.
yeah. Thank you.
I have grand intentions of watching 4 shows, but I've so far only managed to watch 2.5.
Which are?
Which are Dr. Stone Season 2, Stone Wars, Slime Season 2, and Log Horizon, but I've only watched the first episode of this new season so far. So I have great intentions of watching Wonder Egg Priority. I haven't gotten around to it yet.
So it's not your priority.
It's not my priority at the
Come
moment,
on.
but it will be once I get around
Begging
to watching
for
it.
it.
Yeah, I know.
Begging for it.
It's such a. It's like so bad. Not quite dad joke level, but
Anyway, what are we talking about first?
Kane, pick a show, any show at all.
X-Arm.
No.
Nobody's watching X-Arm, unfortunately.
Let's talk about Eurocamp Season 2, because I think 3 out of the 4 of us are watching it. Right?
I love it.
Me
yeah,
too.
Right. Yeah, I also love it. It is very good. I did have it isn't even a problem. It's more like I wish I had more to say about it than other than I like it, because it's just more of the same nice formula. So it hasn't introduced anything new. It's still got that exquisite B footage, the wonderful music. I think the opening theme sounds like a 1960s travel commercial.
I love the opening because it's just as catchy as the last one, but it's not quite just a Jackson 5 song.
It didn't just distinctly rip off an already pre-existing song.
Yeah.
And the ending's exactly the same, pretty much. So I love it. Yeah,
But
this and No Non Biyori are exactly the same, and I have no problem with that.
Neither do I, which I was a little trepidatious about this episode because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say. Nothing has really new been introduced. There isn't a distinct change in like animation studios that people were worried about. Like it's just we were looking forward to it, we got it, and it's fantastic and wonderful and relaxing. The only like revelation I've had about the show with the second season is I definitely enjoy it more when the girls are together doing things than when we focus on one of them doing something alone.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the opposite.
I just like
I'm with DJ on this. Yeah.
Yeah, like my favorite episode from the first season is I can't remember what it's called, but it was like a 2-episode arc where it's the first time Rin drives like across fucking Japan, goes up to that one place and everything goes wrong, and it's just like a horrible experience at first, but then like her and Nadesh go take pictures of the skyline and they show it to each other, and I'm like, oh man, this is exactly what I wanted. So cute.
Is that the episode where she taunts the dog?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then and then it attacks her.
Her like goofy inner monologues are what make that show what it is for me. It's so good. It's so like unique in its calmness, and it's I feel so cold when I watch it. I love it. It makes me want to eat cup noodles.
Or incredibly expensive eel that make your eyes pop out of your head, Looney Tunes style.
Totally. Oh man, I want that.
That Looney Tunes gag actually really got me. I wasn't expecting it.
Yo, that was a pretty like that eel thing was kind of brutal.
Oh yeah, watching it being made.
Yeah, it's like just a fucking entire minute of watching an eel butchered in a comfy Iyashike show.
It's kind of like the sushi scene in Isle of Dogs, where it's like, oh, this is really fantastic to watch, but also like strangely harrowing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
That's one of the best movie. Like sequences of that movie is that whole set right there. But yeah, I think I just like it more when they're together because I like all the chemistry that everybody has when they're doing stuff. I mean, I like all of it, so it's not even fair to say like, oh, well, I didn't like this. It's just I enjoy it more when they're together because I like the conversations and the fun back and forths. But man, I really like that episode where she went off, and drove her scooter and shit for the first time too. So if anything, it was just based off of, well, I need something to talk about.
Mm-hmm. My favorite moment. You go, Kestrel. Sorry, I've been talking.
I was just gonna say, I guess it's not necessarily that I prefer the solo camping as much as I just love Rin so much, and so anything with her, which is, there's a lot more solo her than solo anyone else. So maybe that just skews my perspective.
It's
but
like even when it's like solo Rin, it's like it doesn't feel alone because like she's talking to herself and like talking to the surrounding. You have talking
and
pine
texting
tone.
each other and
all the texts really like are that. So good.
Exactly.
Yeah, the texting is really cool. I haven't really seen a show do it as much yet. I've seen it, but not quite to the same extent that they do. And it's nice because it feels like realistic in the way that they have conversations. Like they just aren't using it as a sole storytelling device.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they're actually texting each other in a way that normal people would text each other, like normal like kids of that age doing stuff. So it doesn't feel like a hello fellow kids kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it strikes a really good balance of like letting you just, marinate in the world, in the beauty of nature alone, while still having that connection to the other characters and having their dynamic play out like that. A good balance of those.
I did think day camping was weird. But that's just because that's something we don't do over here in the United States. If you go camping, you're leaving because like you had planned it. You didn't go to a place and say, I'm only going to camp here for 4 hours or whatever. Like if you leave, it's because you decided to leave early, not that was your designated end time. But it's a really comfy show. I still very much so enjoy it and would recommend it to basically anybody that was interested in a relaxing show. That is definitely for sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I just wasn't appreciating it as much, or something about this season just really strikes me in a different way. But like when I watched the first season 3 years ago, it was probably one of my favorite, straightforward EOSHK slice of life cute girl shows of its kind. But I didn't think it was anything that special. But something about this season, like, I feel like every episode I'm just so emotional, even though nothing's happening.
Exactly. I tweeted about that.
You did, and I was like, I bet this is about you, Camp.
It was. I don't get it. Like, I care about them so much, and I just want to see them happy.
It's
like, I feel like crying throughout every episode, and I'm like, nothing's happening. They're just happy.
I remember the exact moment, and it was during the credits, and it's just you're just watching the credits, and little Deshko like runs out of her house and leaves something in her sister's car, and I wanted to die.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Gee,
so cute.
Guys,
I love them all.
There might be this thing about a pandemic and everybody being isolated.
No, there might be something about
like this forever. It's just,
DJ's been like this forever.
Right, DJ's just, but DJ's also been a shut-in forever, so that makes sense.
I was going to say the exact same
thing.
Good
point, Cade.
Yep.
Maybe there is some sort of correlation.
But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it a lot more this season, and that might have something to do with it. But goddamn, every episode, I'm just like, I love this so much. Why do I feel so emotional?
It's the music too. Like it just gets louder and like super Irish sounding, and it's just it's like listening to winter. Yeah, the flutes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, it's so. Well,
they add like a nice whimsical like level to the music, so you're not just hearing standard like piano stuff. Like the flute always adds a nice like airiness, a very lightweight tone. I mean, flutes can do whatever. My wife played flute for many, many years, and she tells me all about it all the time. But that's what I think about with like flute stuff. Yeah, it's like it's always airy and light and things like that. And I think they use that to their advantage. I don't say I necessarily get like really emotional about any of the episodes or anything. I just like the fact that I can watch it and not have to worry about any of them dying unexpectedly, or
oh my god, that'd be a trip,
or anybody getting psychologically tortured, or anything sad
you
really
just
happening.
Described my and DJ's top shows of the season, respectively.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I knew that's what DJ's was. It always is.
That's true. I do like psychological torture.
That's you. But it's nice. It's, I guess the best way to describe it is it's nice watching a show where you kind of know what you're going to get out of it, and it's not going to stress you out any more than you already are at any particular point in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's proper EOSHK. It really is healing.
Yeah, it is. It is a top-notch example of the genre, and so is Non-Biori, we'll talk about later, but I have slightly different feelings about that because I can personally relate to that more, in a way. But, yeah, my brother and I are watching, Yuru Camp, Skate the Infinity, and Non-Biori together, and are really enjoying it.
Pretty good shows. This is a good season, all around.
This is an amazing
I think it's
season.
just a giant season, because... the 21 shows I'm watching, it's pretty much all sequels that I was obviously going to watch, a few adaptations of source material that I adore, a few promising originals, and like maybe one other new adaptation. So it's all like stuff that I knew I would like, and that still filled up 21 shows. And then on the other hand, you have going all the way down to X-Arm, which is breaking all kinds of other records with online ratings. So yeah, it's quite a giant and varied season. If I was back in the days where I would watch everything, at least one episode in, then I might have a different perspective.
Terms of 2.2 on my anime list.
I think it's by far the lowest rated TV series of all time.
Shit. That's lower than Pupa.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it is the third lowest rated anime of all time.
Oh my god. What is it?
So yeah, that's also this season.
Does it have any odds of becoming so bad it's good funny?
Got like good voice actors in it too.
Yeah, that doesn't save the show.
Yeah, I mean, look
this?
at Robert De Niro's movies, like post 2000.
Is this like another
Hey, man,
handshake
The Irishman was good.
situation where it's just like unbearably bad and you can't even watch it to hate it?
On a scale
Well,
of
apparently it's far worse than that.
on a scale of handshakers and Glass Fleet, where does this show fall?
I was gonna say
Slip or
Glass
Glass
Slip.
Fleet?
Oh, Glass
Fleet.
Slip's up there too, probably, but Glass Fleet.
I don't know what Glass Fleet is.
I haven't seen Glass Fleet either. I'm aware of it though.
Glass Lip was very bad though.
But yeah, I think the deal with this one is that in those other cases, you could be like, Handshakers is like The Room levels of hilarious, and Glass Lip has some nice art. But this has nothing, is the impression I get. But again, I don't hate myself anymore enough to put myself through that, and I don't have time to. So I don't know.
Many producers on it too.
Yeah, it is a Crunchyroll original, as was GB8, which is
They should just stop.
maybe the second lowest
They
rated
shouldn't make things anymore.
full-length
This is a
TV anime.
Yeah, that is not a
all
good
time.
batting average to have.
sign.
Like, they've made 2 or 3 decent ones made. I mean, they funded. Because, like, Tonikaku Kawaii was good. Tower of God was pretty good. I know Skylar and Kane liked it a lot. And then I feel like there was one other. I mean, God of High School looked good, but the story kind of went off the rails. And I don't know if that was just a bad adaptation or the source material. But yeah, that's kind of it. 1 or 2 good ones. And nothing great, really.
Whack.
When you say.
Want to check this out just to see how bad it is.
Why?
Join us next time for our X-Arm episode.
Yeah, there hasn't been anything this season that I've just hated.
Yeah.
Like
Have you-
there's like one show that I'm not impressed by, but even then there's like still a lot of things about it that I do like.
Are you usually good about, like, only checking out stuff you know you'll like? Or did you do that this season?
Well, this season, I don't think I checked out anything that I was like hesitant about. And all the things that I was hesitant about, they are like the lower part of my list. But
Right.
normally I'll like watch 1 or 2 shows every season where I'll be like, I probably won't like this, but other people are gonna watch it, so I want to see what it's all about. Yeah. Okay, so Kane,
Yeah.
what's our next topic?
Okay. I mean, I'm just gonna cover.
Close your eyes. Yeah, close
I'll
your
just
eyes,
cover
point at
my
something.
list, really,
Okay.
since we all at least 3 of the 4 of us seem to share almost every show, if not every one of them. So I actually want to talk about Skate the Infinity next, because I believe, is that an original or is
Mhm.
that? Yeah.
Mhm.
And I am very pleasantly surprised by it. I know DJ, you gave it a 7.5, and Kestrel has it at a B, which is probably a 7.5 or an 8, depending on how you weight that scale. So basically about the same thing.
Mm.
And I think I would solidly put it there as well. Like, I definitely went into it concerned that it was gonna get all the terminology wrong.
Yeah.
And be
Yep.
really lame. Especially because it covers a style of skateboarding that didn't really, at least when I followed skateboarding when I was a kid, catch on, which is the downhill, which is what they do. I think the closest we got to mainstream for downhill was Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam for the Wii, which had that really shitty skateboard attachment. I don't know if
Skate
anybody
had some
remembers that.
downhill sections too, like the game Skate.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it was like they were like parts of the story, and
Hmm.
it was that wasn't the focus of the game, but I remember them existing.
Yeah, I know that Downhill Jam suck balls.
Yeah.
Like real bad. Especially because people didn't like the idea of just going straight downhill and like missing trick opportunities and things like that. So I was curious about it, and I definitely wanted to try out at least one original anime for the season, since everything else are, it's sequels. There are a lot of sequels, and I wanted at least one original. So I picked this to watch with my brother, and yeah, I really enjoy it. I like watching Longa eat shit all the time. I think that's something that every
Canadian ass.
yeah, that's something that every person who's ever stepped on a skateboard can appreciate. They can't appreciate some of the tricks and weird other shit that they do because it is like a shonen anime, but everybody can appreciate falling flat on your face, which is what he does all the fucking time. So
the ending is just that. It's just different bales.
Yep.
yeah,
It's
that's
great.
I do like that too. It's like watching an old CKY video or something from the
Yep.
90s of just watching people bail on skateboards constantly. But yeah, I like it. I like how the characters have their alter egos that are just so completely over the top that they do skateboarding in, of all things. And then my brother and I's favorite is what's his name, the long-haired guy, Blossom
Cherry
Samurai.
Blossom or whatever
Cherry
his name
Blossom,
is?
because he's like the skateboarding version of Joaquin Phoenix from the movie Her.
No. No, he's not.
That's an
He has a
amazing
goof,
comparison.
though.
So I'm just waiting for him to fall in love with his skateboard.
Yeah, that'll happen.
It's fucking gonna. Something terrible is gonna happen to that skateboard, and it's gonna break him. It's
Yeah.
gonna break him entirely.
I'm gonna use the Cherry Blossom thing to sort of go into my main takeaway from the series, because I do love it. But even though I love it, I have it at a 7.5 because it's so tropey.
It really, yeah, it is.
There was a line in the last episode where Adam shows up and Cherry Blossom's like, now I can finally settle my grudge from 7 years ago. And it's just shoehorning character backstory and shonen style motivations for why he's doing the things he's doing into the show, where it's I don't want that to be there. I just want it to be a cool skating show. And it handles all of the skating stuff really well. And even the skate shop, Dope Sketch, is a rad name for a skate shop.
Really
that
is.
sounds like a cool thing. And it feels very authentic to the skating aesthetic, because I was super into that when I was growing up too. Tony Hawk was my first ever hero. The first ever book I read was about Tony Hawk. And it's cool finally having an anime that treats skating seriously, and I haven't seen that before. I'm sure there might be something else that exists. But this does that. I just wish it was less anime at times. Fucking Reki is the dude from Digimon. They're the same person.
Yeah.
It's so anime.
No, I agree with you. It shows at least enough love of an understanding of skateboarding to come off as genuine.
Yeah.
When Reki is explaining the fundamentals of how to do an ollie and a nollie and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It feels at least they did research. So they
it's not
didn't
some dude who's
roll
just,
up in here
amazing
and
right off the bat. It's it took me 3 months to be able to do the most basic thing. Yeah, that's how it works.
yeah, and then they didn't roll up in here and call an ollie a bunny hop or something,
Mhm.
which would have immediately ruined it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd be done.
I think the exposition could be easily served if they just did it during the races, kind of like almost every other sports anime that has racing as some type of
Yeah.
competition structure.
Show us a flashback when somebody's going around the corner or something.
Yeah, so it isn't just backloading all of the exposition right away.
Yeah.
Don't need that. At least not right in that moment. But yeah, Kestrel, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you guys were saying. I guess I wasn't as into skating. I never actually skated, but, I love playing Tony Hawk games and watching skating videos and stuff. So, yeah, it's definitely nice to see it represented, and it definitely embodies my idea of how cool skating is, and the idea that I had about it when I was a kid, and was into that stuff. So, yeah, and it gives me some similar vibes with how it treats the sport and the community and just how people interact as Yuri on Ice. And I think, these big original productions by, female directors who have really proven themselves in the industry, I don't know, they have this certain charm and warmth to them that I feel in both of those series. And I don't know, something about how it depicts social media and a community that forms around something a sport or a particular event feels really genuine and not something I see a lot of in anime. So I find that really interesting. And I think the more that I see these, especially original productions, but just really high quality productions with really great directing by female directors in general, I think it just kind of makes it clear that to be a female director who actually gets work, you have to be twice as good as, a male counterpart. And so that's why the female directors who get these kinds of opportunities have just like gone all out with their craft. And I think this is a good example of that. And the animation's great, of course, as per usual from Bones.
Yeah, it looks really good, and the racing is always like really good. They do a good job of making it look faster than it is, which is nice. I don't know if you guys noticed, but for giving the downhill race the Fight Club treatment, they talk about it a lot. They go like,
they really do. Like they're at like a restaurant.
Yep.
And they're just screaming about it. It's like, I thought at the very beginning they said you can't talk about it because it's like illegal or underground or some shit. And then they're just screaming about it in public constantly.
Yeah, I do think it's a little silly and stupid and hard to take seriously at times in general, but I think there's some campy fun to be had in that. So
yeah.
It doesn't really bother me, but that's sometimes I cringe or roll my eyes at it. But
yeah, and skating's kind of always had that.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's always had that campy underground sort of comedic element to it, even playing the Tony Hawk games and stuff.
Right.
Well, there's the whole like no soliciting, no skating. Like the whole like, hey, you kids can't hang around here and skate. Kind of vibe.
You whippersnappers.
Yeah.
The only terminology thing that I was just slightly annoyed at was the way they used the term beef.
Yeah. It's a little angry.
Like, I want to beef with you.
Yeah, I want to beef with you.
That's not how that
hey,
word
you want to
works.
beef with me on Friday? It's like, no.
Can we just race? Like,
I won't beef with you, but I'll race you if that's what you want.
Yeah, because there's a slight misunderstanding there.
Yeah, well, because beef has always meant like you have some type of grudge. Yeah, you got a grudge, and it made sense in the beginning because it felt like Reiki and the Joker had some type of Shadow had some type of history, or at least very recent history that they were kind of at each other about. But then when they just talk about it in the skate shop, it's like, yeah, you want to go beef? No.
It's like, whatever you're thinking, no, I do not.
Please, no. But yeah, I look forward to that as well. Like I think that show has a lot of fun places it can take, and I hope it keeps that sort of campiness almost. I would hate to see it get too serious, especially with how ridiculous everyone's outfits are.
Right. I think if anything, it is getting more and more ridiculous. Like the latest episode with Adam, like Jesus, this thing doesn't take itself seriously for a second.
You mean Dio?
Yeah, I mean Dio. Yes,
it's just Dio.
It is just Dio.
So I want to throw it out there, like one of the prerequisites for forming the beef is to put down a bet or like a wager, and both wagers that have been put down so far have not actually been seen through. So that element is kind of weird.
Yeah, like the tattoo thing.
Yeah, like there's no tattoo, and Mia didn't become a pet. Like those are the two things that have been bet so far, and it seems like they're just throwing it out there for dramatic effect now.
I always
the stakes
figured,
don't really mean anything.
Yeah, I always figured that because the good guys are winning, that they were in their good guyishness, like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, I would never do that.
Yeah, but Shadow won, and he's not a good guy. Sure, he works at a flower shop.
He kind of is.
He kind of is.
He's that character who's like an enemy for the first episode, but then by episode 2 or 3, he's like he's just a goofy dude. Yeah.
Yeah. He's gonna be comedic enemy / ally.
Right. Exactly.
Reluctant ally. They just get in his car.
Yeah, but like he loves them,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys had anything else to say about it, but Yeah,
No, I like it. It's my grade for it is lower than my enjoyment for it.
I think it just suffers from the fact that there are so many other really good shows. So I wonder what your grade would be if it didn't have to compete with everything else.
It's a really good season.
Yeah.
Like it's weird for me that a show I like as much as Skate the Infinity is at like number 15 for me.
All right. Very good. Very good. Kate, what are you watching again?
Dr. Stone Season 2, Slime Season 2.
Yo, how's Onion Head doing?
Dr. Stone Season 2 is just like Dr. Stone Season 1. Didn't miss a beat. And that it really shouldn't have because it wasn't on that long ago. So it's just picking up right where the other thing left off and continuing the storyline.
I mean, it did take over a year off.
I mean, yeah, but not like, coming back from, like, Log Horizon.
Well, yeah. That was crazy.
But, yep, they're moving into the war arc, but the show is building on everything that it previously, like, created. So instantly in the first few episodes, we see, like, all of the inventions that Senku, like, reinvented coming back into play in some way, but he's also doing the same thing that Senku does, which is take the most roundabout way to get to a solution to a problem, where he's all like, instead of like, like, we have to fight a war with these guys, what should we do? Okay, I'm gonna invent cell phones. It's like
you do.
Yeah, and it's like, what? No,
as
like,
one does.
Yeah, and it's like, what are you even doing, dude? And it turns out, like, his invention of cell phones is not invention of cell phones. He basically makes two-way radio. But regardless, like, putting together everything that they had made previously and then attempting to reconstruct. Oh, and the characters, his friends from the first, few episodes of the TV series that disappeared come back finally. After...
Oh, you mean like the guy who was set up as the main character and then didn't appear after episode 6?
Yes, him. He's back and he's still screaming. So.
Oh wait, the long hair guy?
No,
I haven't watched the show, so I don't.
That's
I don't
the
know
antagonist. No, there's a guy who's like more of a typical shonen hero. Of course, Senku looks more like one because he has absurd hair. But
wait, I think I remember. Wait, is he the guy that was like really strong and dumb?
Yeah, that's
okay. Yeah, all right.
The series starts off from his perspective, focusing on him, and then like the eye catch of the first episode, it's like, just kidding, it's Senku, and then after episode 6, he doesn't show up again.
Fuck.
Until now.
Yep. So, him and the girl are back finally, and or more like Senku finally decided to make contact with his friends that he left in the enemy camp for a year. And they do clearly state that it has been a year since he has seen these people. And he still hasn't seen them yet, but he's made contact. So, well, maybe by this episode. I don't know. I'm one episode behind. But, yep, it's more Dr. Stone and the same ridiculousness and the same kind of, crazy science bullshit. I still have two large problems with the plot, which is involving inbreeding and oh crap, what was the other weird hang-up I have on the show? Well, whatever. There are a couple things that you just have to kind of be like, the Mystery Science Theater, it's just a TV show, you should relax kind of thing and not think about. But
don't think about it too much.
But, yep, it's still entertaining. And there's still amazing face bowls that happen, at least once or twice per episode.
True.
So they're up to two-way radio technology now? Because that was one thing that I was curious about. I dropped the show not because I necessarily disliked it, but it just kind of fell off my radar. But I was wondering how quickly they would scale up their inventions. Because it felt like they were going real fast.
Well, it's like, it's not to the point where it's like, oh, we have this, so therefore we suddenly have all this other stuff. And they do make it clear when they, end up developing something that ends up playing a role in something else that they develop. Like, in an early episode in season 1, he, creates ramen to, win over the, basically the cave people that are around, and they all think it's amazing and incredible because they've apparently have been eating garbage. I have no idea. And then
They're not aware of culinary techniques.
they're not aware of culinary techniques, so he introduces them to ramen, and they're amazed. So yeah, you didn't think that was ever going to come back into play again until he decides to make cup noodles. Now, I'm not even going to tell you why he decides to make cup noodles, because it's like, there are easier ways of doing what you wanted to do and accomplish the same thing. But no, he just like, I'm going to make cup noodles. Let's freeze dry this shit.
Because cup noodles are legendary.
True.
Yes, but yeah, it's like typical, typical Senku of like, I'm a crazy person. Let's do the most difficult thing I can think of. But
Makes it exciting.
makes it exciting. It makes it, I don't know, it's still ridiculously fun to watch, even with the dumb and the what were you thinking? Because they know, they're aware of like how silly some of the stuff is, and how Senku has like, he's kind of got social skills, but also not really. Like, he's just very, I'm gonna do this, and wins people over.
Yeah, it's definitely a series that perpetually manages to be extremely smart and extremely dumb.
Yeah, it does an amazing job of towing that line of, this is really smart, also really dumb. And they still have that stupid disclaimer at the end of every episode that's like, don't try this at home, this shit's bad.
I think they have to.
Yeah, they're like, don't make bombs, also don't do any of the other shit you see in the show, thank you, bye. So
Don't try and freeze dry anything at home.
like, yeah, don't try to, blow like glass and make your own light bulbs. It's probably not a great idea.
Well, do they still do that kind of thing that, if I remember correctly from the first season early on, where it's almost like teaching you how this worked?
Yes.
And works, because it's kind of like Burn Notice. Anyone ever watch that show? Where it taught you how to do like spy bomb stuff and how to rig like cell phones to be tracking devices and all this stuff. It was a cool show. It was, from like the mid-late 2000s, but that's what I felt like when I was watching Dr. Stone in the beginning. I was like, oh, it's just going to teach me how to do all this stuff and then tell me not to try it.
Basically.
Which is just not going to work.
They're kind of like fast tracking some stuff now, like, and they're glossing over some stuff. Like, he's like, I made a black light. And he didn't really. He's like, well, I put he kind of mentions what chemicals went into making the black light, but like, yeah, there's no process there or anything.
Yeah, they give you like the workflow of how all the things go together, but obviously they leave out a lot of details. And yeah, it's very educational. And I think the disclaimer at the end is just a cover your ass thing. I don't think they're really that concerned about whether or not people actually do any of the stuff. Some of it they probably would encourage.
Yeah, like cup noodles, there's probably no danger in trying to make your own cup noodles.
Right.
As long as you don't touch, if they use dry ice, don't touch that with your bare hands.
Yeah, they didn't. That's not the route they took, but.
Oh, that isn't? Okay, good.
I don't think
Gotcha.
it was anyway. But, yeah, still a good show. Very much just picking up where the previous left off.
Yeah, I watched the first season again in like the week before this one started because I got it for Christmas on Blu-ray. So I checked out the dub and rewatched it all that way. And yeah, I was glad I did. I like that show a lot. And being able to lead right into the second season, I think I'm enjoying the second season more than I would have if I hadn't watched it for a year.
I do like the English dub voice for Screamy Friend much better than the Japanese voice for Screamy Friend. So, whose name I can't remember because he's not really that important at the moment. But
Taiju?
Yeah, Taiju.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're still enjoying it. I didn't realize Kestrel was still watching it. I had to look over your list, and I was like, oh, okay. So at least it's something that two people watched. So there could be a little bit of conversation rather than just me interviewing you about it.
Yes, as per usual, I am at least watching everything that you and Kate are.
Ah, very good. So we have our butts covered there.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, if you guys have basically said your piece, we can move on to a different show since there is so much to cover.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. I want to pick something off DJ's list.
Okay.
Tell me about how Higarashi's going.
Okay, here we go. Higurashi sucked for like the first 13 episodes of this. We're like on episode 16 or 17 now, and I finally get it. I finally get it that it's not an alternate telling of the original series. It is a sequel, and I'm 98% sure of that.
I feel like we've heard this before.
Yeah, but like now it's getting into material I've never seen before. And that's the cool part for me, because I've known everything that was going to happen in every single episode, and it was just me trying to figure out how they were going to fuck it up. And it gets to a point this season where that isn't a possibility anymore. And so now it's uncharted territory, and all of the original twists that I like loved are coming back, and it's like actually I'm excited to watch it again, because the big thing for Higurashi was always the suspense and trying to figure out what the fuck's happening. And I get to figure out what the fuck's happening again. And it's cool, and the acting got so good out of nowhere, like once it started getting serious, and it's just not goofy anymore, and it got rid of all the stuff that I didn't like about first half, and we're finally like it's Higurashi again. So I'm happy. I'm very happy that I've flopped or flipped on this so dramatically, because I got close to dropping it at a couple points, but that's not going to happen now, and unless something goes horribly wrong, which it still can, because they let me down for a lot of the season. Unless something like that happens, I will like it a lot by the end, and it's going to be hard for me to rank, because all in all, I still hated half of the season. But right now,
that does make it rather
it's really
difficult.
good, so I'm like,
Right.
yeah, I'm like riding on a high of how much I'm liking it right now, and when I actually have to figure out how good it is, I'm gonna have to think of the shitty parts again. So that's weird. But if you watched the original Higurashi, I would urge you to check this one out. I don't know if it's okay to skip the beginning yet, but I'll get back to you with more information pertaining to that. Right now, though, I'm all about it. I'm having a lot of fun.
In another month, DJ is going to come back and be like, okay, so it's not a sequel. It's actually...
Very possible. Very possible. Because last episode, I started questioning that again. I'm like, wait a minute. But what if... That's the weird thing about Higurashi. It's so fucking complicated that like you never really get what's happening. So I think I get it right now, but they could very well just be like, never mind. We're still in the middle of the first episode. And so... yeah, I'll have a better idea of how much I like it once it's done. Right now, though, it's really cool.
So what you're saying is you're in for a roller coaster.
Very much so. Yeah, it's wild.
Well, I mean, at least you got to a point where it's quality. I would hate for you to watch
Thank God.
16 episodes.
I was losing hope, man. I was like, there was one arc I liked, and then it was like, it went back to a mediocre one. I was like, oh, I hope they're just not remaking the entire series, but like ruining every climax, which is what they were doing. Oh, it's cool again, though.
Nice. I know DJ, not DJ, Kestrel, you tried watching this.
Yeah, I'm glad I dropped it, because even if it's good, it's a sequel, and I didn't see the first one, so...
I'm glad you dropped it, too, because you would really not like what... you in order to like what's happening right now, you need to have an appreciation and understanding of the existing story. Otherwise, it's probably just going to be weird as fuck.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, then I think we can move on once more. Let's pick something off of Kestrel's list. Okay, let's just move on to this Wonder Egg show that you guys like so much?
Yeah.
Well, EJ is going to be talking for the next hour.
Oh man, it's everything I love in one show.
I am going to put on the hockey game real quick.
I really don't know where to start when I talk about this show, because there hasn't been anything like this in a while, and it's just so unique, so creative.
Compare it to something that exists.
Good
Probably
question.
Madoka.
I was going to say, it's got to be Madoka.
It's like Madoka's the only other thing that I can think of that like had the level of creativity that this show does. And even
Does
then,
the name
it was like
mean
a
anything?
different level of creativity, because a lot of Madokas came in the subversion of magical girl genre, and this is just like a deep dive into psychological trauma for a bunch of different people, and showing you through weird action scenes how they manage to cope with death and suicide and all of these horrible things, but it's done so in like this really colorful, extravagant manner, and it's, oh my god, I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, because I know it's another one of those shows where the aesthetic betrays the subject matter.
Yeah, 100%. But like,
I
even
believe we had an
time,
episode called Cute But Dark, which was describing exactly that phenomenon that DJ loves.
I don't think I was on that episode.
You definitely were, because you were talking about some show that had that going for it. Yeah.
Can we do that episode again?
It wasn't like the topic. It was a seasonal discussion that just came up. Yeah.
It was probably the season that like Happy Sugar Life happened.
Yeah, I think that might be it.
Yeah, I'm all about that. And this show has such a unique visual style, because in addition to all that like super colorful witch type enemies like you'd get from Madoka, there's also these really weird psychological horror elements that they incorporate in some of the characters. Like you'll have like a hyper realistic face that they just put a mosaic over, and it's that kind of weird shit like that, like Shaft and like nobody else does, that I love with this. And it's not even Shaft, so it's like it's completely unexpected, and I was excited for this show, but I got something completely contradicting what I thought it was going to be, and I am very happy that it's being received as well as it is. Like, after the first episode, I was like, everybody's going to hate it. There's no way people are going to like this, and I was completely wrong, and that makes me... It restored some faith in the world.
I think you underestimated people, because if it's like Madoka, which was cultural, like a zeitgeist-defining anime for a few years, then this wouldn't be any different.
Yeah.
You know, going by like theoretical like math and logic, obviously anything can be a hit or flop at any time. I mean, Space Dandy by all rights should have been insane and popular, but it felt like it just came and went.
My worry with this was that I was afraid it might have gotten too psychological, because the first episode in particular, it's very hard to follow, and I kind of want to write out like an analysis of it, because that first episode was immensely different from the three that came after, and I thought that it might have been so much that it would scare people off. Whereas Madoka, it's like you had several episodes of exposition before things got all Madoka-y. And Wonder Egg starts off and you're already like, I have no idea what's happening, but it looks cool. And I guess the fact that it looked cool and people didn't know what was happening was enough to carry them forward. And I thought that would put them off.
Kesha, what do you think?
Though.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, despite the easy parallels that can be made with Madoka, which was exactly a decade earlier, I believe, yeah, it does feel like the freshest, most innovative thing in quite a while. And yeah, I think it's the psychological areas that it's digging into are a little bit different than what Madoka has covered, and I think it has a lot of really interesting, thoughtful new things to say about them. Yeah, it looks crazy amazing in every way. It's extremely stylized without being shafty or anything like that. yeah, really enjoyable to see everything about it. Cloverworks is definitely knocking it out of the park across the board these days.
They're insane this season.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I like that it's from pretty unknown staff, I feel like. Like the director and writer and character designer and animation director and composer, I think, are all pretty unknown, which is pretty crazy that they could be given something this ambitious and given so many resources and be so successful with it. So yeah, that's really cool to see new talent being nurtured like that. And yeah, the whole community has really embraced it, I feel like, across the board.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's popular, it's critically acclaimed, and I haven't really heard anything bad about it, which is nice to see. And yeah, just having no idea what's coming next is really intriguing.
It's very rare that we get an original show where like we can't really predict the places that it's going to. Because even with fucking the key one that I'm forgetting the name of already.
The one from last season?
From last season, the God one with fucking
Day I Became God.
Yeah, that one. It's like even that one. It's we kind of knew for the most part what was happening. But it's a different monster, and it could really go anywhere and kill anyone if they want. I guess I feel like there's gonna be some shit like that that's gonna set things off. But right now it's a fucking roller coaster, and roller coaster is just one giant downhill slope. So we're gonna for that's what we're gonna be on for the next couple.
Yeah, I mean, even if you didn't have such violence and psychological torment throughout each episode and weren't just tearing apart these girls' psyche and everything that makes them so flawed, the premise is still bringing back a friend that killed themselves, and just having that as a premise is just so much to unpack there. So yeah, man, it's a heavy show.
So heavy, I love it. It's very unreserved too. Like the last episode in particular, it gets into some serious shit that a lot of things they don't really depict it in a way that highlights how horrible it actually is. Yeah. And that episode did. Well, it's you can watch the opening sequence alone and sort of understand how I don't want to say emotional because it's such a boring word, but I get personal is a better one. How personal the show really is, because it'll just be like a close up of a girl like scraping yogurt off of the fucking back of the lid, and it's like shit like that, where it's like things that people familiar with depression see and feel, and it's cool having a series be able to depict it in a realistic light and to really show how grief can be and different ways that we can cope with it.
Well said.
And there is an egg in it?
Oh yeah, there are eggs. It's like
so the name does mean something.
Yes.
Yeah, and eggs are a big part of the opening. It's all a metaphor, because it's like they're basically dealing with the grief that comes with the loss of a loved one through really symbolic protect the egg game, where they just take this egg and they try to protect what comes out of it. Sort of like that experiment you'd get in high school science class, where it's like, here's your egg, protect this for the next week, and if it works, then you'll be rewarded in some way with like a good grade. But in this case, their reward for protecting the egg is bringing their dead friend one step closer to not being dead anymore.
Yeah, and specifically friends who chose to take their life.
Yes.
And the conflicts that come with that in the first place are just scraping the surface, because all of these characters are extremely broken, and it's all about facing the demons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's something.
That doesn't sound very Iyashike at all.
Not even a little.
The opposite.
Yeah, if Iyashike is to heal you, this is to break you.
my favorite.
Without going too deep into it, when I see shows like this, it always, they typically always have one thing in common, and I want to know if there's any reason behind it, which is why young girls? Like, why is it always young girls being depicted going through all this and having these problems and being, like, the subject of all of these things? It's never grown women, grown men. It's rarely young boys, I think, or older people.
There's
it always seems to...
They talk about that in the last episode of the show, and they explain how there's, like, two different universes, because all the characters that we know in this show are young girls, and there's this segment about how girls and boys oftentimes kill themselves for different reasons. And I think, especially as a creator of something like this, that the reason young girls are so effective in this case is because it's a series that's tailored toward adolescent males through, like, adult males, and we have an easier time getting attached to younger female characters, not only because we think they're cute or we want to protect them, but the fact that they are conceptually defenseless and weak, when that's not actually true, but in a fictional setting, that you can really, really hone that and make the characters feel a lot more like they need to be protected. And that's why I think they keep using that same sort of subject for shows like this.
So it's sort
also,
of
cute
like
girls sell. So.
Yeah, it's sort of just like an easy way to foster feelings of protectiveness in your audience, is just make them girls.
Yeah,
Do you ever find that undersells it? Not undersells it, but undermines the show's subject matter, in that, of course, it's girls again.
It depends on how the show plays out. Like, there was a series from a couple years ago that I reviewed called Maho Shoujo Site, which was like another blatant Madoka ripoff, where it was super dark, and that was cool. But the big selling thing was that all of the characters were young girls, and they really hammed that up. And so if you're spending a lot of the time in the show focusing on just the idea of the characters being young girls rather than what they're going through, it can be overplayed, and it can sort of lessen the impact of an otherwise good lesson. But that's not always the case, and I wouldn't ever do something right away just because it's like, oh, okay, it's more young girls in sad situations. Like, it's such a complicated topic that you have to see how they're going to handle it first before making a decision like that.
Yeah, and I think this series definitely, it handles specifically what adolescent girls go through in a way that wouldn't work if it was any other subject matter. They could make a similar show about young boys or adult women or adult men going through depression or trauma or any other psychological issues, but it wouldn't be these issues that they're dealing with. And, it's like Poon Poon would be a completely different series if the protagonist was female. It's the same kind of deal.
Yep.
And, Madoka has kind of like a reason. It's like how Evangelion has a plot reason why all the characters have to be 14-year-olds. Madoka has like a plot reason why all the characters have to be adolescent girls, and it's because of like the unmatched emotional what's the word I'm looking for? That
it's a really like important time in your life where it's like everything seems so much bigger than it is, and you're like finally understanding like, oh shit, the world sucks.
Yeah, being a girl going through puberty just inflicts like a level of emotional distress that is unmatched by anything else, and that's how they harness their power. Spoilers, I guess. I like when a series, in that case, either gives a plot reason for why this has to be the case, and obviously Madoka sold 1 trillion times more than it would have if it were not cute girls, because it got a lot of merchandising. But in this case, yeah, I mean, it's definitely topics that would not be the same if it was a different subject matter.
Yep.
Good
I have an
answers.
alternate
Yeah, because
theory
just from someone
about why
from
it's
the
always-
outside looking. Oh, sorry, Kate. You go.
It's like I have an alternate theory about why it's always young girls or girls. And it's simply because men aren't supposed to show emotion, boys aren't supposed to show emotion, adult women aren't supposed to show emotion because it makes you unstable. So therefore,
Also true.
the only safe choice for getting really emotional, where it's accepted by the entire audience, is if you have adolescent girls.
Yeah,
and it's a little
that's,
more.
That's true.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I'd
it's a
say
little more,
that's valid.
Yeah, it's like obviously a lot more complex than that, but that's definitely like that can be added into everything that we say. I don't refute that in any way at all.
Especially in Japan, where like the shit women have to go through that's just brushed aside by society. I hope there is a series like this that can address those issues, but not yet, I guess.
I'd love like to see a show that just tackled like the Japanese generic inability to express emotions. That's just like not a thing they really do there.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, I was watching. What was it? I think it was like I don't know, something that explained that like couples don't really ever say "I love you." They do it by like like gifts or showing affection in other ways. But the words like "I love you" or like
They don't say it.
they just don't say it. No,
It's like it's only used in really, really like important emotional moments.
Ironically, traditionally, you can't start dating until you say that.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like you say it to confess. You probably say it when you get proposed, and then like during horrible things to reassure someone that you love them. But it's not a thing that like in America we just like I say I love you to my girlfriend probably 800 times a day.
Gross.
So, it's not like that at all.
Right.
That's icky as hell.
Yeah, love's dumb.
Yeah, it's so
Ew.
stupid.
Girls have cooties.
Yeah, there we go. Glad we're all on the same page.
I definitely have cooties. I am not refuting that fact.
we have a confession. Cooties do exist.
Cooties, of course, they exist. It's like that parasite that infects you from the cats that makes you like cats.
Mm-hmm.
We have that.
I definitely have that then.
That's what cooties are.
All
Yeah.
right.
I appreciate the answers to the questions because someone coming from the outside, because I don't watch these shows, it does get a little like, oh, it's another show about young girls being tortured. Okay, so everyone's going to love it, and it's going to be empty and vapid, but it's just going to be torture porn under the guise of, emotional distress of growing up.
So
I think that's the case a big percentage of the time. And I think that's been a lot more since Madoka as well.
okay, so
Yeah,
on a
there are a lot of shows that try and just use that as a selling point.
because those are just cheap and shit.
on a sliding scale of like 1 is Madoka and like 10 is Serial Experiments Lane, where does this fall?
Wow, that's a weird scale.
I did get
Like,
some Lane
totally.
vibes.
I'm
like
Actually
modern
wearing a
vibes
Lane
as well.
shirt right now. That's really funny. This
I think it's got some similarities to both.
Because I get the talk of suicide and stuff just makes me think of Lane. So
yeah,
I thought of Lane after the first episode as well. Modern Lane.
definitely. Yeah, it draws similar like it the way action's portrayed is similar to Madoka, but the overall emotional what's the word?
baggage.
No, not baggage, like just like the way
Feel.
the maturity, emotional maturity of how the situations are handled, I think is a lot more close to how Lane was.
Yeah.
I have to get around to watching that.
Yeah, do it. It's good.
Yeah, I feel like it's got a little Madoka, a little Lane, a little Utena maybe. Interesting.
Cool.
Alrighty.
Say, DJ, you all tuckered out?
On Wonder Egg, I mean, I'm gonna bring it up like pretty much in every episode that we touch on this season until it's over. So I'm done for now.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
You could go to Kestrel's Wonder Egg now. Big show.
My big show.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you guys, Attack on Titan is so good.
Oh, good.
Can't stand it.
I'm glad. because there was concern going into this season that they weren't going to be able to pull it off.
They did.
Yeah, they totally did.
They definitely did.
I think one of the biggest issues that people had, and I still see some complaints about, is all the extra CG. But it's just people who are going to hate CG no matter how it's used. And this is used extraordinarily well. The compositing to blend it with the 2D elements and get all the effects and, photography elements, shadows and all that stuff in place, that is all done superbly. I think a lot of scenes wouldn't be as good if they didn't use CG. And there are some scenes where, like, the Colossal Titan, as it exists now, are rendered in 2D, which hadn't been done by Wit in quite a few seasons. So, there's already a precedent for the Colossal Titan being CG, and I think the CG of all these Titans looks a lot better than that did. And that still didn't detract from some absolute masterpieces of episodes from, like, the previous season. As far as the direction, I think Jun Shishido has definitely proven that he can step into Tetsuro Araki's shoes, and that's something that I didn't think pretty much anyone could. Like, Masashi Koizuka was able to, under Araki's guidance, working with him the entire time, but to have them completely removed and have this in fresh hands, I'm extremely impressed by how well he's able to convey that same, the same style, the same aesthetic, and just emotional and visual dynamism that Araki is so well known for and so unmatched for in general. And yeah, the content is incredible. The series is a very different series now, but the way that it handles all of the issues I've been talking about for the past few weeks with, an oppressive fascist government and indoctrinated / brainwashed both ruling class and oppressed class is extremely poignant. And now that we're getting into the parts where our existing cast is actually involved and, the big action is happening, there's a lot of really powerful moral complexity in play. No character is good or evil. Everything is completely gray. There's a lot of real concern about what every single character is doing, but it is ultimately a warts and all war story, and there's nothing nice and happy and perfect and clean in war. And I think this is really digging into that in the same way that it had portrayed and depicted just sheer terror from, soldiers in general, but dealing with this unknown. And now that it's kind of stripped away a lot of the mystery that had existed and the fantastical elements, which are still there, but they're all grounded in, a very human foundation. Now that it's reached that point, it just has to deal with, the underlying human issues of it all. And so you can't just have a big bad off in the distance and you have the terror of being a soldier who has to go out and fight that. Now we have to explore both sides of a conflict in a war and see that both sides are suffering and both sides are, committing reprehensible actions, but that there's really nothing that can be done to make it all right at this point. And you have emotional attachments to people on both sides, and you have tragedy striking, as you would expect. And anytime a character seems like, you have unconflicted thoughts about them, either you will become conflicted about them in a negative way that you have to reconcile with and have your ideas challenged, Or if you just really liked them, maybe they'll die. And then that will play into becoming conflicted about another character. So, yeah, it's... Remember the last episode where DJ said
that happened.
Yeah, so, people have very different opinions about Gabby than they did, a week ago. So, and, I hate seeing the people who... I guess I shouldn't say I hate it. I can't quite sympathize with the people who just hate a character because of actions they've done, or
Ichigo from Darling in the Franxx.
Right, yeah, exactly. Things like that where they just, if a person does something bad, then they're like, oh, I hate them.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take the context of the situation, and to be empathetic about it is to realize that these characters are doing absolutely the most understandable thing that would happen in that situation.
100%. Like completely understood what happened. Right. And I'm not going to hate anyone involved because of what happened, but it's like it really plays up your attachment to certain characters, like, or situations if things don't go how you expect them to.
And you have, various personality types and how they deal with the same situation. And you see that in Falco and Gabby in the latest episode, where, like, Falco has the correct perspective, but Gabby has the human perspective. Falco is offering rationality, and Gabby says, I deny your rationality. I need catharsis right now, whatever that takes. And that is an incredibly human response, especially from such a young character and for someone who has endured everything that she has. And for someone who's taken on so many more burdens to try to better the treatment of, her race and her society, it's understandable that she has so much pent up that would just explode given a situation like this where everything comes crashing down. And the parallels between her and Eren at the beginning of the series are incredibly obvious at this point. And the series is just so full of dramatic ironies, especially around that fact, and the fact that Eren himself is the reason for, creating this next monster that's just like him.
Yep.
It's also doing an incredible job at plot twists, especially in the latest episode. It's the kind of thing that, a great plot twist is one that is completely unexpected, but that as soon as it happens, you can start seeing where they planted the seeds leading up to it.
Yeah.
And that totally happened here. There were moments that stuck with me throughout the past few episodes that I was like, that's kind of strange.
Yep.
But there was just so much else.
Right.
So much else that was so big happening around it that just made me kind of, not think about it too much. And then the moment that twist happens, you're like, oh, that all makes sense now.
Yep.
I can't wait to find out the whole backstory behind this. And so to have all of those elements in place, as well as just the rewatchability of a series like Attack on Titan in general, where situations like that happen, where you'll appreciate rewatching it so much more because this secret, and that applies to just the general enormity of all of the enigmas throughout the series. So many of the mysteries from the beginning of the series were answered last season, and so the only thing that Attack on Titan could do to keep you guessing is to just suddenly do a 5-year time skip and throw you into a foreign alien world with almost entirely new cast for 4 episodes. And then once you start seeing the new characters, it's halfway through this season, 8 episodes in. And then next episode is when we're finally gonna, start seeing how we got to this point. And that's gonna, make it so much more valuable to rewatch as well, because that new perspective that we're going to get is going to recontextualize everything that we've seen. And it's going to be like a completely fresh show. So it manages to hit you as the events are happening, with just so much emotion, so much suspense, so much exhilaration, and then also turn around and give you the opportunity to experience it anew on a second watch or third watch. And there's so much complexity to it, both psychologically and commentatively, about what it has to say about society and these, socio-political paradigms, but also just so much entertainment value to be had in it from beginning to end. And it's never just an action show. It always has so many layers to it, and I think it's definitely gonna go down as one of my favorite anime, one of my favorite television series of all time. I think it's an incredible masterpiece.
Yeah, this season, there's a very, very, very high likelihood that this will be my favorite season of the show. Every single episode, when I think there's no possible way that they can continue to impress me on this level, they somehow manage to do it, and it's weird. It's weird how after 4 or 5 episodes, characters that they threw into a series that I've known for 6 or 7 years now. It's weird how quickly I was able to attach myself to some of the new characters that showed up, and it's weird how easily that attachment was severed or is severing. But it's an entire chain of events that you have to really understand and look at from both sides, and this season in particular is forcing you to look at it from both sides, and whether you like to or not, it's like there are parallels that you have to draw between those two sides, and the fact that it's doing it really sets it apart from the other seasons. I didn't think Attack on Titan was ever going to get darker than it actually was. And if you compare the current season to everything else, it's darker than all of them combined. So it's just really there's a level of seriousness to it that's always been present, but it's more present now than it's ever been before. And it's just, I'm loving it. I'm scared to watch.
Yeah, it's so harrowing.
Yeah.
I think, the fact that it's so much darker is because it's so deeply rooted in real life events. And so
it's
you
like
have
happening
no
in
choice.
real time too. Like the last 4 or 5 episodes, they've all gone like an hour in the time in the world. It's weird. Like you're watching a war actually play out in real time.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think, especially for a fantasy series, and I think a lot of the best fantasy, like the other show we just discussed, it uses the fantastical elements almost exclusively to, dig into real world phenomena, and whether that's just pure psychological exploration or commentary on society and politics and warfare. That's the best use of fantasy. And this isn't a show about giant monsters who eat people.
Nope.
That's just the tool it uses to express these ideas in a larger than life fashion.
Some of the new giant monsters are really fucking cool, though.
Also true, yeah. And that's the thing, is that, it manages to be an incredibly exciting action show to watch, but it's never just that. It's always so much deeper. And, I think, what you said, every episode is like we had 3 episodes that were some of the best episodes of anything I've seen in a long time. Just back to back to back. And, they all were pretty different. Like the declaration of war versus the next episode, the Warhammer Titan, they had almost nothing in common, but they were both absolute masterpieces in their respective ways. And then I think Assault tied together all the best elements of both of those and became a hero level episode, the episode from last season that I've been raving about since then. And so to do that so consistently is not something that I see much at all. And, actually something that I didn't expect to compare this to at all. But a show I watched about a year ago now, The Wire. The The Wire is an extremely thematically rich show. It has a lot to say, but probably its biggest theme is that institutions are almost inherently corruptible and corrupted and ultimately evil, but that individuals within those institutions are mostly victims and well-meaning and not evil. And I think that is a big message that I can track in this series, and especially in this season as well, where, like, you know, the people that are being forced into this fascist system, they're supposed to be the enemies, the devils that we hate, that we're coming here to attack, but they're all just humans, and they're all good people who are caught in a terrible system. And I think that's really important and powerful.
Agreed.
Yeah, I definitely am gonna rewatch it, but I think I'll just wait until it's done, and then just kind of consume it all at once. Since I haven't watched it since the first season a long time ago at this point.
Yeah, 8 years ago.
Yeah,
damn.
But it's really not in my typical operating procedure to like go back and watch and then catch all the way up and then do it, that way, especially because I already have 4 other shows, so I feel like I wouldn't be doing it justice, because I know that, knowing my habits, I would probably do that, and then eventually I'd miss an episode, and I'd be like, okay, I definitely need to watch that, and then eventually I just wouldn't, and I'd be back at square one all over again.
By the way, here's a fun thing. My Sundays on Crunchyroll are I watch the newest episode of Attack on Titan, and then immediately watch the newest episode of Non-Biori.
Oh, so very thematically similar shows, yeah. I could see how there would be no tonal whiplash.
Not even a little.
Sometimes I bet you even forget you're watching 2 different shows.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I think
so that's fun.
I can imagine. That show's really good too, and we can talk about that next if you would like. But
yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. We're just all right, we're done talking about Attack on Titan.
We're going to go into the complete opposite.
Excellent. 180. Let's go back to the relaxing shows real quick. Non Biori is just like what we talked about, at least for me with Yuru Camp. Exactly what I wanted it to be. I think I'm enjoying it slightly more just because the whole podunk country living thing is something that I resonate with a lot more than camping, just because, I did camp when I was in Boy Scouts and other stuff, but it wasn't like my hobby or anything like that. So at least in terms of that general structure, just living out in the middle of nowhere is something I vibe a lot more with. So the way that they entertain themselves and play games and make something out of nothing is an attitude and a way of living that I really, vibe with and enjoy, especially whenever they introduce like a country mouse, city mouse kind of deal. Mm-hmm. With that one girl, I can't remember her name, that came in because she didn't know how to talk to people, and the first person she ran into, unfortunately, was Renge.
Best possible person to run into in that situation.
Yeah, like best and worst. But just, because I guess city mouse, country mouse isn't the best way. It's more like country person and towny, because it's not like that other girl lived in Tokyo or something.
Right.
But yeah, I'm super enjoying this as well. It feels like it just picked up exactly where it left off before, and we're just watching them continue living and going to school and getting into stupid games and things like that, and growing and evolving a little, which I think is good. So it's not stagnant. So you do get to see some kind of backstory every once in a while and motivations for what they do and how they behave. So it's not just you're watching like a sketch show all of the time.
I don't know if I'm paying enough attention, but is this season the same as the last one, where like it doesn't take place after it. It's just within the same time frame as the first 2 seasons.
I don't know.
I think this one is an actual sequel. Yeah,
Okay.
because I think they're a grade higher this season.
Okay.
I think I think so too, but I'm not super confident about that because that was something Caleb and I were trying to figure out too, if it was another repeat situation
Right.
or what. But yeah, we're really enjoying it. Just watching all the shenanigans, and of course the scenery is always great, and the music is fantastic in terms of just showcasing everything that's going on.
I love the lack of soundtrack that they have in a lot of scenes to just like really hammer in how country everything is. It's like somebody fucking walking down the road for like 5 minutes with no sound at all.
Or just playing a shitty recorder.
Yeah, just the fucking recorder. Oh man, they haven't changed anything since the first season.
That's for sure.
And it's like they even kept the NaNoWriMo still does the opening and all the girls still do the ending. They haven't changed anything at all, and I don't want them to. I've settled in, I'm comfortable, and this is the show that I want.
I like the girls doing the ending theme. I think that's charming.
It's great.
Yeah.
You get like familiar with them, and you're like, oh, you're singing now, and I know your voice, and
It's not like the voice actresses are singing a song. It's like these characters are clearly singing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what makes it. If it was just the actresses, I'd be like, whatever, fuck this song.
Right, exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's something that through every season of this show has always been endearing to me, that you can clearly tell what character is singing, whether or not you really recognize their voice actress at any moment.
So good.
Yeah, this one, I didn't have any different reaction to it like I did with Yudu Camp. Nonon Biori from the beginning. The fact that I have lived in the absolute middle of nowhere for the first 23 years of my life definitely made it resonate with me when it first started. And the scenery porn is a lot of fun. It's a fun Iyashike show. It doesn't hit me like Yudu Camp does for whatever reason. I think, maybe Iyashike that are less concerned with being comedy works for me a little bit better. Like, they're both comedy and not like just all the time comedy, but I feel like the balance with Yudu Camp, it's more just like hanging out with these girls, and occasionally something funny happens that feels a little more natural. Where with No Non Biori, it's like, I don't know, it feels more like they're making jokes a little bit, like the situation is written to be a joke.
It's more of a comedy, yeah.
Yeah. Which, it's funny. I like it for sure. It just doesn't work for me with the tone that it's setting quite as much. And I think that's what just bumps Yudu Camp to, maybe the best of its kind in my eyes.
I think it's also, from what my brother and I feel when we watch it, like, the relationships are fundamentally different.
Yeah.
Like, the girls in Yudu Camp are friends almost kind of by choice due to their club. The girls in Nanan Biori are friends because there's no one else to be friends with.
Yeah. And they're very tight-knit. It's very much like a family.
Yeah, they're super tight-knit because there is nobody else.
Yeah.
There are no after-school secondary jobs or clubs or people to hang out with. So I think it's a mix of, it's a lot more comedically tuned and feels more like a sketch show in a way at times, but also, their relationships are just built differently. Like, they'll bicker a lot more. Like, you don't ever really see the Yudu Camp squad bickering with each other or kicking each other in the shins for no reason.
Yeah, because you're exactly right. They hang out when they want to hang out with each other. These guys are just together all the time. They don't have a choice. So you're going to get on each other's nerves more often.
Yeah, they feel a lot more like a family.
Yeah.
And just a group of sisters rather than a group of friends. I'm so glad that both of these shows are good and that they didn't change the formula, because I think with those two you can't really change it a whole lot without changing the entire tone. And that's one thing that Nanan Biori kind like I enjoy the comedy, so when they did the episode We Were Always Like This, which really wasn't comedy, it felt a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
When they tried to give like backstory that was a little more emotional about the connection between two of them and things like that. So I didn't mind that episode. I didn't quite enjoy it as much because I watched Nanan Biori for funny games and Scotch tape dolls and dumb like country bumpkin shit like that. Not so much like nostalgia based character building and other things like that. So I'm glad they didn't change it up too much or really at all. Because I feel like each show has a very distinct attitude and tone, and to try and switch that up for whatever reason, you're kind of, you're fucking with what works. You're fixing what is not broken.
Yeah, I think I had a similar reaction for a slightly different reason, which is just that, this show doesn't do those like dramatic moments in the way that Yudu Camp does, and so it's not as effective. Like I don't feel as much nostalgia in the show, despite the having more of a connection to living in the middle of nowhere versus camping. But like I think that's the thing with Yudu Camp that's why it affects me so much, is that it just feels so nostalgic all the time, just with the way it's presented. And like the first episode, the first half of it was just Rin's backstory, and that hit me so hard. And when we get the backstories in No Non Biori, it's like they're silly, that's fun. So very different shows, and it's very nice to have two of the best traditional slice of life Iyashikei cute girl shows in the same season. It's a nice season to have at this point.
It's also nice to see parents around.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. But it's nice to see like parental figures in families kind of as much as they can, rather than just girls or students hanging out doing their entire story and then there's not an adult within like a 50-mile radius of the story.
Yeah.
Because I think that to me is what adds that extra nostalgia, I think, in Yuru Camp, is that the parents are there and they're supporting and loving.
Yeah.
And if you didn't see that, I think it wouldn't be quite as good, because it's just these girls doing this thing with more ghost parents who are just there to show up like once every 6 episodes to remind you that, these girls aren't homeless. They have a place to go to. But to see like Rin and Nadeshko's families, be just as kind and loving and supportive of the kids, I think is what adds that extra feel good about it, because everything is feel good and optimistic and, cotton candy, fun, good times. And I think that Nanan Biori kind of sort of has that, but not really, which I think also takes away a little bit from the Iyashikei nostalgia stuff, because their families are also kind of in on the comedy sometimes.
Right, exactly.
So it doesn't really have that extra element, and it shouldn't, I don't think, really. Like, I think it has an established formula that I enjoy and works for it. But thinking about it a little more, maybe that's what adds a little bit more to the emotional nostalgia of Yuru Camp, is that also it's not just the kids. Everybody is kind of involved. I mean, fuck, even the employees of fucking Cabela's in Yuru Camp are like, oh, it's so cute that she's getting that lamp. Oh, here it is, all nice and bagged. Oh no, she almost dropped it. When in reality, that retail person wouldn't give 2 shits about you when you paid them that money. They'd be like, here's your bag, now get out.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, every single person in the world is just such a bundle of warmth.
Yeah. Even the drunk teacher, still.
Yep.
Still pretty good about that kind of shit. DJ, what do you think about like the differences between the two?
You guys basically covered it. Yuru Camp is a lot more like the takeaway from that show is I watch it, I am comfortable, I am winding down. Where it's like No Non Biori, it's I am watching it and I'm like, I'm comfortable, but I'm laughing and I'm having a good time and I'm watching these girls bicker about shit, and they're really close to the same thing, but it's two different takeaways from both shows, and a lot of like one of them is just pure joy and the other one is weird random emotional attachment and the desire to camp despite hating camping.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's a good thing that, they have very different takeaways, because it would be redundant if we had them both in the season and they felt exactly the same. Instead, we get two very different but equally valuable, top-notch EOSHK shows in the same season. So it's good. Good dynamic.
To be completely fair, camping in the way that they do in Yuru Camp would be amazing if every camping experience was like that. A lot of my camping experiences have mixes of that and also like waking up because your tent is ungodly hot because it turned into a sauna, and oh no, I have to take a piss, but the bathroom is like 150 yards away. Or, tying up your food so bears don't get it, or making sure the campfire's out so you don't burn your whole site down, so you have to make sure that shit is out. Like, there's lots of minutia to camping that they just don't show, and also they always stay in, like, pretty well taken care of camping sites and not just, like, the woods and stuff. Like, camping would be great if it was always like that, and sometimes it is, but I think that adds to the whole, like what you said, DJ, I want to go camping, but I hate it. Well, you probably would not be experiencing that camping.
Right.
You might get elements of that camping, but it wouldn't be as nice and tidy and neat and fun. Like, there'd be some wrinkles and things that would make it, like, putting up a tent can be a bitch and a half.
Yeah, I would imagine.
That's why you need an Nadeshiko to do it. You're missing your pole. Yeah. Yeah, I would like to go camping in this cartoon. Not anywhere else.
That's a very important distinction to make. Though I'm sure there are camping sites like that around the United States that make it a lot easier to do so. Like, I mean, when I was in Boy Scouts, camping was as close to that as possible because there were like platforms you put your tents on so you weren't right on the cold hard ground, and like distinct fire pits, and there were outhouses at least at each campsite, if not like a full-blown bathroom somewhere in the vicinity, so you can get close. You can get close. It's not like camping is exclusively you're either glamping or you're shitting in a hole behind your tent.
Right.
There is some differences like there, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it makes me want to go camping as well, even knowing all the warts that come with it. But yeah, I think these two shows in this season came at a very good time.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed. Ready to move on?
Yep.
Cool. DJ, you had mentioned a show that you said that you gave a low rating to, but it has potential. What show would that be?
Yeah, okay, so it's last on my list. It's Urasekai Picnic, or Other Side Picnic. And it's, despite having a lot of stuff I really like, it's just boring. And I keep wanting it to get better, and it hasn't gotten better at all, and it's just stayed the same. But like, the whole premise is that there's the real world, and then there's this alternate world that this one girl goes to sort of get away from people, because fuck people, they suck. And she meets this other girl there, and she's like, why are you in this other side of the world? I thought I'm the only person that can come here, and blah blah blah. Turns out there are a bunch of people that come here, and that girl, the crazy pretty blonde one, sort of has been going there for a while and mentors antisocial girl, and they sort of develop this like lesbian dynamic that's not totally lesbian, and it's got a lot of like cool psych horror imagery, monster shit, and they have to fight the monsters. And so we've got cool alternate world, lesbians, psychological horror monsters, and just like this really uncertain air to the series. But even though the situation's super serious, it never, like, I'm never worried, because like I know nothing's gonna go wrong, and I want to feel like there is potential for failure, and I don't get that. And so it's weird having so many things that I like, but just not capitalizing on any of them. It's got my favorite opening of the season, though, so that's cool, I guess.
That's something.
Yeah, that's like the bonus to it.
Oh, by the way, I've come around to the Attack on Titan opening, DJ.
Me too. Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but I've decided I really like it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it's like the more you hear it, you're just like, all right, get it. I think a lot of that is from the animation, though. Like, it's just a really cool looking opening. Like, by itself, I wouldn't like it. When you combine the two things, I think it's cool.
Yeah, that's definitely what makes it the most powerful, but it's also true that every time I watch an episode, the song is stuck in my head for the next few
hours. Yeah, it just gets stuck. I have no idea what the fuck they're saying. I can't understand any of the words.
Yep.
But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, Urasekai Picnic, though, is I wouldn't recommend it at this point. I don't hate it. It's just boring.
Yeah, I feel like a lesbian show that DJ doesn't recommend is probably something that most people should steer clear of.
Yeah.
That usually bumps it up, like,
if I'm not
at
raving
least
about any show where, like, even girls, like, remotely like each other,
right?
Probably not a great show.
Yeah, a lesbian show that DJ gives a 6.5 is probably like a 4 or 5 on anyone else's.
Yeah, that's
scale.
a rough show.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah.
Main Girl's got a fang, too. That's another bonus point thing for me. And heterochromia. It's weird, like, how many things are in this show that I'm like, awesome, I love that all the time. But this time it's just like, eh.
2 heterochromia protagonists this season, huh?
Yeah. Except I is a lot better. So.
Yes. Also, back to Wonder Egg priority for a moment. I like that the heterochromia actually matters to the plot and is not just like a cool thing. It's like I think she's bullied over.
Yep.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'd never bully anyone in general. But it's like weird to me that like that is a thing that somebody could get bullied for.
People get bullied over anything that's different.
Yeah. People suck.
Yeah.
But that's cool, though.
It is cool, but I don't know, it's different.
People suck, you're right.
Conclusion, people suck.
So what would the DJ?
Here.
What would the show? Oh, sorry.
No, we're just inching up on the 2-hour mark.
Oh, gotcha. I was just gonna ask DJ what if you could name like 2 things that the show could do to improve. What would they be?
There's no goal right now. Like there's nothing the characters are working towards. They just like keep going back to the other reality and just looking around. So if there was some objective and if there was any fear that things could go wrong, like they're trying, but they're not really going places that make you fear for their futures yet. And in a show like this, you need something like that to propel you forward. Because if there's no objective and there's no fear of failure, like what are you even doing? You're just going into a different world and looking at monsters and then going back and being like, oh, she's so pretty. And that's the whole show, right?
Yeah, it seems kind of empty.
Yeah, very.
Okie doke. All right, so we are approaching the 2-hour mark, so why don't we go back, unless, Kate, you wanted to talk about your other show that you're watching with any type of fervor?
The other show I'm watching is Slime. It is still good. Animation's been very good so far. They went back and covered stuff they had skipped. It rushed through in the end of the first season, which is good because it's kind of plot important in a way. So they're going back and covering it now before they dive into the important stuff coming up. So I'm happy Slime's back. Slime is once again very enjoyable. So that's it. That's all I gotta say about Slime.
Agreed.
Very good. So then, Kestrel, is there anything that you wanted to touch on in particular from the rest of your list? Because obviously we're not going to get to all of it. as we typically don't. But I know there's a couple shows still on your top, 5, 10 or so that we haven't talked about. Or are there any that are screaming out for some take giving? I know you and DJ share Jujutsu Kaisen still.
Yeah, I think most of the stuff in my top 10 really DJ is watching as well. Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen, it's not as much to say about it since it's just an ongoing show. It's just been a few more episodes. It's entering a new arc. And if you're into this sort of arc, then it's a very good execution of it. I'm a fan. I like it. Not much else to say about it at this point.
Kodo's the man.
I guess I can say this is a conventional shonen action show with supernatural elements, and the last episode was entirely about talking panda who kind of turns into a gorilla, but is not actually a panda or a gorilla.
It made me like Panda a lot more. I want to throw that out there.
Fighting a robot who's not actually a robot, and we get intense emotional backstories about both. So that's the conventional supernatural shonen action show this season. That's what happened last episode.
Christ.
Yeah, that was, from an outsider's perspective, that probably sounds a little insane.
A little?
Yeah, man. It's like, I mean, when you're watching the show, it's like, it's still insane, but it's like, you get it by that point.
Oh, you are a part of it.
I never was like, wow, this is too ridiculous. I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
The gorilla panda who's neither a gorilla or panda is also a corpse.
Yes, true.
Huh.
That's the thing that I forgot to mention.
Of course. It'd be dumb if it wasn't.
Right.
Also, two dudes are fighting to the death right now because they both like tall girls with a big ass.
They both specifically like Jennifer Lawrence. Yep. It's fun.
These sound like all reasonable things to have intense combat sessions about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're not going to fight over that, are you going to fight over anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What could possibly be more important?
That whole moment or sequence after he gives the answer of, the tall girl with a big ass like Jennifer Lawrence, that was just incredible. The just transcendent experience where he declares himself his soulmate. That was great.
Yeah, that made me like him as a character a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't have anything else new to say about that show at the moment. As for the rest of my top list, not a whole lot new to say about ReZero, other than what we said about the previous season. Still extremely good. Mushoku Tensei is a series that I have read up to volume 8 of the light novels, so I'm very familiar with it. I was a big fan of the light novels, and it is an incredibly high-quality adaptation. I had just recently learned that the studio behind it, who's never done anything before, was established by White Fox as a spin-off 4 years ago, specifically for this series to make it as perfect as possible, and they've been working on it for 4 years.
Damn.
So that is why a brand new studio has given it such an incredible polish. So yeah, very satisfying to see a series that I was already very invested in get that kind of treatment. Speaking of which, Horimiya, holy shit, it is exactly the adaptation we wanted.
Yeah, I was just talking to Becca about this today. It literally had to be this good, and it was this good. And it's perfect adaptation so far. I'm all about it. And I forgot how much happens in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like
so quickly, yeah.
The only romance show I can think of where there's like real progression by the fourth episode.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is like, especially in the last episode, I was just watching it thinking like, this is what Kane needs. Yeah. This is the kind of show that doesn't fuck around, doesn't have a bunch of misunderstanding tropes. They're just open and honest about their feelings.
Not Japanese couple.
Right.
It's so good. They're such a good couple of every character in this show is awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I don't it's it's weird raving about a show like this because when you explain it to somebody, it just sounds so normal.
Right. There's nothing.
It's really not.
There's
it's
nothing
so great
about this show. It doesn't have a premise. It's just a standard high school romance.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's the perfect high school romance, though. And it's like actually fun. And the characters aren't dense at all. Well, Miyamura's kind of dense, but like in a realistic density sort of way where it's just like she's out of my league. There's no way.
Yeah, exactly. It's totally understandable, his perspective.
Oh,
He's
so
not
good. I love everybody.
Not
They're
questionably human dense.
Right,
no, he's just like realistically dense because he's never had friends until like last month.
Yeah.
So he's like, why is this happening?
And like, I can, empathize with that to some extent. Like, when I started college, I suddenly found myself with a ton of friends that I was much closer with than I had ever been with friends before. And I felt like, it was a trick. Like, this can't be right.
No way I have actual friends.
Right. There can't be like all these people who are into the stuff that I'm into and just want to hang out with me. And so, yeah, I totally get it. When you've spent that long not experiencing that, to be able to connect with people like that. And yeah, just the chemistry between them. It's just like within half an episode, the chemistry between the two protagonists is just so apparent. Like, yes, these guys totally belong together.
They're the best couple. They're definitely up there in my top 3 anime couples.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair. Yeah, so this is a series that, DJ and I were big fans of the source material as well, and we had been hoping for an anime for a long time, and it is, I think, the best adaptation we could have hoped for.
Yeah, exactly what I wanted. Not let down.
And the opening sequence is so well directed.
So
man,
good.
It's a brilliant, just visual piece of art.
Yeah, it fits a lot too. Like the first time I watched it, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but like each time after, I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, perfect."
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So many characters too.
It's true. I guess I have my my 3 Cloverworks shows right in a row here.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. But yeah, I think the openings to this and Wonder Egg Priority are probably the most creatively directed openings, and they're both Cloverworks shows.
I love how Wonder Egg in particular blends like actual real photos with the opening. Oh, it's so cool.
Yeah, and then I gotta say, Neverland, I'm a little disappointed, unfortunately.
See, I as someone who hasn't, I tweeted about this, as someone who hasn't read the source material, I think it's awesome right now. So like, what did they do that to make it less awesome?
So here's the thing. A lot of people are getting real up in arms about the last episode, a little bit the last 2 episodes, changing from the source material. But like after episode 1, you said, this is the most I've ever enjoyed Neverland. And I was like, this is the least I've ever enjoyed Neverland. And they didn't change anything from the manga at that point. So I think
Weird.
It wasn't that.
Why didn't you like it though?
So I felt like, in general, obviously it's a very different series after the events of the first season.
Yeah.
And I knew that, I've read all of the manga, and I think it is a little bit weaker in general. But I just felt like the direction wasn't as intense. I mean, it's certainly not as suspenseful. I feel like it's kind of it's surprising to me that you have the opposite reaction, because I feel like the first season
opposite.
Right, the first season is, just this suspenseful psychological thriller, whereas this is starting to get into more like action-y, shonen-y elements, with just like I think the first season is more of a thriller and this is more of a horror.
I think a lot of it comes down to, this is like where I'm finally starting to get more world building, and I'm like kind of understanding the situation that they're in.
That's true.
And the fact that it started out like with the just keep running, like fucking silence, and then like explosion of noise, and like you realize like, oh shit, okay, this is the outside world. Like this is the things that we're gonna have to deal with from now on. And it felt so much pun not intended, but it felt so much bigger. It's
Yeah.
like it's a completely different show, and they both have good points about them. But this is more along the lines of what I was expecting out of this series.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, another thing in that scene, I felt like the monster demons have some pretty bad CG. I don't think it's very good. And I
That's
think
fair.
the series with its like color design and animation quality in general has been really strong so far. To start seeing that slipping a little bit is disappointing. And I guess I can say maybe the fact that Cloverworks has two just absolute top quality shows in the same season, maybe this is taking a little bit of a hit. I mean, it still looks great. So it's definitely an impressive season from them in general. But yeah, I mean, it just felt so polished and perfect throughout the entire first season, both in terms of direction and aesthetic and just execution. And then we get to the end of episode 3 and then episode 4, where they suddenly skip 50 chapters, which are extremely important.
Okay, well, I wasn't aware of that.
So yeah, the potential for this to turn out not very good is very high now. So like I'm still giving it, a high B plus. I think it has definite potential to slip to a low B at least. Like I think it's still good enough overall. It's not going to get much lower than that, but I also didn't see this coming at all. So it's concerning at the very least. And the first season, despite having read the source material, I was blown away by the quality of adaptation in the first season. So to face this disappointment here, where it feels like such a step down in so many ways, yeah, I'm a little bummed.
Damn, I'm liking it a lot. It's
That's
cool.
good.
Like, this is the most into the series that I've been.
Mhm.
Different strokes.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk about some of your other top stuff quickly? Do you have any thoughts on any other things that I ran down?
Oh, we haven't really brought it up. I'm liking Mushoku Tensei a lot.
Mhm.
I am pleasantly surprised. When I hear isekai now, I immediately think generic and not fun and stuff. But at least how the show is marketed was that this was like one of the first like popular things in that genre. I don't know
true.
how much is it. Okay, because I was
Yeah,
like, I don't
it's
know how legitimate that claim is, but
Yeah, it's like a 9-year-old series, so it established a lot of what a lot of isekai does
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I get it. It's very like almost strangely mature given the type of show it is, at least from the character or the main character's perspective, because he's actually like a perverted dude, but not in the sense that Kazuma from Konosuba is a perverted dude. Like this is like actually just like a creep from real life, and so he says creepy
Right.
shit and does creepy things. And they feel like actual real creepy things rather than creepy things thrown in for comedic element. And it's just the world in general. It's very open with how much sexuality there is.
Oh.
So yeah, there's some things that they showed that I was not quite expecting them to actually show. So that's cool, I guess. We don't really get a lot of shows like that, and it's fun finally having an isekai that feels like it's made for adults. Like even ReZero, which is one of the more mature ones on the market, I feel like is still meant for teenagers, and this doesn't feel that way for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic with the main character, and the like for a normal dude just experiencing school life and all that, he's experienced legitimate trauma really, and seeing how that colors him, and having reached this just the bottom of society and so much self-loathing, to see him get this fresh start and try to re-examine how he can live his life without all of that baggage, and then having to contend with the fact that you can't just discard that baggage. Like how terrified he is to go outside because of all the experiences he's had with other people, and how much of a revelation that is when it's not like that. And yeah, you just get so much emotion behind how hard it is for him to deal with these issues that have plagued him for decades of his life. And the world itself, I think, it struck me from the beginning of the series, but it definitely continues throughout. It's just such a big, well-realized world. There's so much world building in it. It has a lot of thought put into all of its fantastical elements, without being like super boring and textbooky about it. So yeah, you learn with him kind of what the rules of the world are, and yeah, it's a very enriching and exciting process, I think. And you really follow this guy throughout his life, like from the moment he's reborn as a newborn, and a few years have passed already. It's not really a spoiler to say that, like, as of volume 8, he's like 15. So you just keep progressing throughout his life and all of the events that go into that. So yeah, and it's an incredibly high quality adaptation. So I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm really pleasantly surprised that both of the series that I'm really invested in from the source material both got really high quality adaptations.
I'm very happy that happened. They're two things I like a lot. It started as a light novel, correct? What you say? Okay, yeah, because I checked the manga out since it was easier to like find a version of that.
I haven't checked that out at all.
It is I guess it was not really a very loyal adaptation because like by the second chapter of the manga, we were already like where we are in the anime. And I have a hard time believing that they covered everything that we've seen in the last 4 episodes in one chapter. So I don't know if it just starts off in like a place, or I just skimmed through it like when I was
Yeah, it's been a year or two since I started reading the light novels, but everything that's happened so far in the anime feels pretty faithful to that. Obviously things are going to move a little bit quicker in anime than in a light novel.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, the fact that it is still effectively narrated by the protagonist gives it a very similar feel, which you don't always get with first-person light novels adapted to anime.
Anything else?
You say anything else?
D4DJ ended, and it's really good. And that's I've said all I can say about that series and other episodes. But yeah, that's basically my thoughts on the current season. We'll talk about more stuff as episodes.
Did that end at an unusual time?
It did, but it also started at an unusual time. It started
true, yeah.
like 5 weeks into last season, so it finished this week.
Yep. Yeah, I guess to round off the last few things that I haven't talked about, Bungo Stray Dogs 1 is a chibi gag spinoff, but it doesn't try to like be gimmicky like Attack on Titan High School or whatever. And so by just being like the situations that you'd have in the show, it works pretty well. Quintuplets is still better than it has any right to be.
Yep.
It's still fucking stupid every time they're like, I can't tell you apart, when they have not even remotely similar character designs. But whatever.
Yeah, I don't get that. I think
dumb.
it's just like for us as the audience to be able to tell.
I guess, yeah.
It has to be. It has to be that, or it doesn't make any sense.
Right, it makes no sense at all. Cells at Work. I think the second season and Black are on about the same level for slightly different reasons. I think Black I like a little bit more at this point, because even though it's a big bummer and it's a little uglier and it's not characters that we know, I find it a lot more interesting. I think just because the stakes are so much higher. It's not just like, fun cells having a fun time. And, as a commentary on like exploitative, toxic company culture, I can get behind that and find some value in it. So I'm digging that a little bit more, but they're basically tied. And Kemono Jihen is a pretty standard shonen show. It has some neat ideas and decent supporting characters, but the main character is both emotionless and immortal, which makes him not that interesting as a protagonist. So, yeah. Also, I dropped Log Horizon because I realized after 5.5 years or 6 years, whatever, off, I don't care about it. And it doesn't look good. So, oh well.
It's never looked good, and yes, it's been 5 years.
Yeah. At least 5 years, yeah. It might be closer to 6 at this point. But yeah, it's never looked good, but for it to be so relentlessly not good looking after so much time has passed is a bummer. And yeah, more importantly, obviously that fact has not caused me to drop it so far, so the fact that I just don't care is my action. That's all I got.
Nice. Well, then I believe we can move on to recommendations for purchases and such.
Well,
yes, no, maybe so.
As a recommendation, not to purchase necessarily, but if you do nothing else with your life, watch Attack on Titan and purchase it, I guess, in the seasons that are available for purchase. But watch the new one that's coming out now. Let me see if I can find any physical recommendations in the meantime.
Yeah, I really don't have any physical anime recommendations. I'm looking over the release calendar for February, and I'm just like, there's stuff on here that's fine.
I have anime adjacent recommendations. There's a new Talia game out this week in English. Ryza 2 is out. And also on the same day, East 9 came out. Monstrum Nox is the subtitle for that. It plays a lot like East 8, so it's very much along the lines of that, but East games come out so very rarely that even though it looks like a Vita game, it's more of that high, very tight action RPG goodness. And I have too many games to play. That's all I got to say about
I've been
that.
playing a lot of games lately. You might be surprised to learn.
What?
A
That's
lot
you
for
really?
you is like, what, one?
3 in the past month, not
Holy
in their
shit.
entirety. Well, a couple of them I've been playing with Caitlin, so we played The Last of Us in its entirety. We've been playing a ton of GTA 5 over the past few weeks, and I have gotten a few hours into Dragon Quest XI's Definitive Edition for PS4.
Oh, nice. Well, those are 3 good choices.
Agreed. I think it's I've definitely played my PS4 more in the past year, like 1,000 times more than I have in the prior 5 years.
Does it sound like a jet engine?
Sometimes.
Because I've actually stopped using my PlayStation because I've tried cleaning it and I've tried doing all this stuff and I turn it on and it's so ungodly loud. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to play my PC or my Xbox, and the PS4 is just going to have to, I don't know, be trade-in fodder for a PS5 someday or something, because I just can't handle how insanely loud it is.
Do you have
That means your game isn't loud enough.
No, do you have a Pro or do you have a base PS4?
I have a base standard, the first gen.
I do too.
Because I've heard the Pros are even louder, but
Mm.
my PS4 is actually not all that loud, so...
Yeah, I haven't noticed anything. I haven't noticed anything super bad. Like, occasionally it'll, sound like a jet engine or whatever, but not constantly.
Yeah, The Last of Us is one of those games that'll make it sound like a jet engine.
That's accurate.
Yeah, because I think I just turned on the Medieval remake to play because I wanted to play that, so I picked it up for a couple bucks at my local game store, and I put it in the PS4 and it was fine. And then as soon as the game kicked on, it was just it's like, nope, okay, can't do this.
I wonder how much of that is the thing and how much of it is the drive. We're trying to read the disc.
It was definitely fan noise. Like, a lot of it was definitely fan noise. So, I don't know if there's anything else I can really do, but I'm just kind of playing all the games I have on my Xbox and PC and stuff.
There are crazy people out there that rip the thing open and replace the heat, the gel with, like, liquid metal, but those people are crazy. Yeah.
I did that to my Xbox, so...
You're crazy, no.
The Xbox is a lot easier to take apart.
Yeah.
Than a PS4, from what I can gather. So I'm not going to try that with the PlayStation. But with the Xbox, it was pretty simple. The worst part was just making sure all the screws are organized, because there's a ton of them in a ton of different sizes.
End up with any bonus screws after you put it all together?
No, but the first time I put it back together, I did forget to screw down the actual heatsink, so the game fired on, and it was so quiet, and I was like, this is great. And then the Xbox heat throttled and shut down after like 5 minutes.
Literally fired on.
Yeah, so then I looked down at my coffee table, and I went, oh, no, it wasn't I didn't screw it down, I didn't connect the fan pin, like the fan cable onto the motherboard again. I forgot that, so the fan just wasn't running. Which is why it was so quiet.
Certainly make it quieter. Yeah, I think if our PS5 sounds like an engine, we just, or PS4, we just turn up GTA 5 so that our engine in that sounds louder.
Yep.
It turns into a volume war.
Right.
Just drown it out.
Yeah, I don't have any other physical recommendations, so just watch Attack on Titan and then rewatch it, and then rewatch it.
My recommendation, I'll do another video game since we were talking about them. Neo 2 comes out on PC on the 5th. It's 2 days from now. The episode will probably be out. You can get the complete edition, I believe, for $50. So that's Neo 2 and all 3 DLC packs, which adds up to a little less than 200 hours of gameplay. More if you suck. So get that. It's my game of the year for 2020, and I will be posting a review for it on Fandom Post soon.
It's one of the few games that I've beaten this year.
Hell yeah.
Nice. Well, I don't have anything else to recommend either off the top of my head, so I think we can finish off the episode right about here. Unless anyone has any objections. Kate, where can you find us?
Oh God,
we can Kate do it.
Yeah,
Kate doesn't know where you can find us.
You can find us at fandompost.com. Go send us some money so that Chris can pay for his exploded something. I don't know. Something in his house broke again. He needs money. Keep us going by keeping him going, so that he'll keep doing this. You can find us on all of the locations you can download a podcast. Which I don't know what they're all are anymore, because there's like 20 of them. You can find us on our personal Twitters. I am at SonicBug.
Are we going to leave it at that, or should I tell them where they can actually find
I mean, if you want to tell them, I think they know by now, but who knows? It's always somebody's first episode, so.
Yeah. So if this is your first episode and you're listening to this, I don't know, somehow, and you don't know where to find us, subscribe, rate, and review wherever you find podcasts: Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, iHeartRadio, an Alexa skill. And as mentioned, we are on fandompost.com. You can find the episodes directly embedded there. Twitter and Facebook at Fandom Post Radio as well. Follow us and share our stuff. Get in contact with us. Give us any feedback or ideas, opinions, etc. Do the same via email, fandompostradio@gmail.com. And I'm on Twitter at FullMetalKioma. And read my Attack on Titan reviews, because if you thought I had a lot to say today, just wait until you hear my several thousand words per episode.
You can find me on Twitter at DJ No Style, and you can find my game on patreon.com/lessonsinlove.
And you can find me right here. And that is it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Indeed.
The smart man staying off social media for the last year. Just avoiding the universe.
As much as possible, at least. Some of it is unavoidable, but it is what it is.
This is true. Yes. Thank you for joining us. Please tune in next time for our next episode of Fandom Poster Radio. Ciao.
See ya.
Out.
Adios.